the job content problem be growing? Well, there are a number of different academic models of this, which I won't go into in detail, but a couple of the common ones are demand control model, which is really about the matching and the equilibrium between the demands of a job and how much control you have over it. If the demands get more intense, then it's good to counterbalance that. We're giving people more control over either what they do, the order they do it in, and the pace of that they do it. And also this notion of having some sort of equilibrium between the amount of effort people put in and the rewards they get. And that's not necessarily financial rewards. It could be psychological rewards, recognition, and so on. Plus, we've got growing concerns in the workforce about fairness, transparency, a sense of justice. I was involved with Will Hutton earlier this year when he published his report on fair pay in the public sector, looking at pay dispersion in the public sector. And it's really clear that as the gap between the lowest paid and the chief executive gets wider, the sense of fairness and justice and transparency in organisations is undermined, and in turn it undermines people's sense of commitment to the organisation and whether or not they actually are part of an organisation they want to belong to. So I think the thing about job control is multifaceted, and we need to watch that very carefully because it certainly is in decline. There's some other factors. We have a tendency to over-medicalise. It's really interesting. I was part of the expert group on the sickness absence review that Dame Carol Black and David Frost published earlier a few weeks ago. And it's clear that the experiences of GPs dealing with people coming to see them with various health conditions is a strong sense that many of the issues which are labelled psychological well-being issues are actually to do with job content or relationship breakdown at work. And it could be that what we're doing is over-medicalising conflict or relationship difficulties at work. It's also clear from some sociological research that the concept of stress, which I've not really ever liked particularly, is something that's socially more acceptable to have. And that's something that we need to interrogate, I think. Now, one of the ways of thinking about this is looking at a concept called locus of control, because I think there's a link between that and people's psychological resilience. By and large, it's one of those, like a joke really, there are two types of people in the world. Those people with an internal locus of control, and essentially what they do is they attribute perhaps success or failure to their own efforts or lack of effort. And there are people who have an external locus of control, and by and large what they do is attribute success or failure to external factors that they don't think they have influence over. Now, there's been some interesting work that's been done by Professor Jean Twenge at the University of San Diego, looking at locus of control in young people in the USA over the last 25, 30 years. And what she's shown is that the proportion of people in those age groups with an external locus of control has grown by 30%. And the characteristics of people with an external locus of control are the following. Whenever I read this, I think about teenage children, but they're unable to defer gratification, have weaker self-control. They're unable to take criticism. They're more at risk of drug and alcohol dependency. They tend to have lower academic achievement, higher risk of depression, anxiety, poorer general health, increased risk of criminal behaviour. They don't vote. What's the point? Higher levels of teenage pregnancy. And their general ability to cope with stress is relatively low. And so the question that raises then is, what do people with resilience or good coping skills look like? And if the raw material, as evidenced by this data, is getting systematically less able to cope with pressure and stress, what do we do about it?